Ruby wakes up in an empty room, only to see her knees bandaged. As she tries to understand how she got there, she hears a voice of a man named Thomas, who tells her that he kidnapped her. He tells her she'll remain his captive until she falls in love with him. After telling her about her past, since she has lost her memory, she asks him what happened to her legs. He says he severed her ligaments, and because of that, she won't be able to walk for a while. He adds that she shouldn't force herself to stand up, because it could get her permanently paralyzed. He also advises her against trying to escape, because they're miles away from the next house. He then points to her bag and says he hasn't checked it because he knows it contains her private stuff. Before he leaves the room, he tells her that he'll provide her with food and painkillers every day, and that if she needs his help, she should call his attention. As he leaves, Ruby continues to look confused as to how she got into Thomas's custody. After a while, he returns to pack up her plate, but he sees that she didn't take the painkillers he gave her. He tells her that the pain in her legs will only get worse if she doesn't take the pills. He leaves them again for her, and as he heads for the door, she asks him why he kidnapped her. Thomas just ignores her and walks out as she screams. Later that night, he returns to the room to help her lay on the ground to sleep properly. In the morning, after he gets her back up, she pretends to be asleep until he leaves the room. Just then, she heads for her bag while in pain and starts checking the things inside. She sees several things including her ID card, a mirror, and a tennis ball. As she hears his footsteps coming toward the room, she immediately packs everything back, but she doesn't see when the tennis ball moves away from her side. After she drops the bag on the chair, she moves back to where he left her. As she gets there, she sees the tennis ball next to her and quickly picks it up and keeps it in the back pocket of her shorts before he comes in. When Thomas enters the room to bring her breakfast, he notices that her face is red, and he also realizes that she's in pain. He takes out a bottle of pills from his pocket and says she should have told him how she was feeling earlier. He then takes out a few pills and gives them to her. As he leaves, Ruby falls asleep, and when she wakes up, she has forgotten everything that happened, and it's like she's just waking up for the first time again. She fails in her attempt to stand up, and as she screams, she hears Thomas's voice. He repeats everything he told her earlier and also warns her against standing up. As he's about to leave the room, she asks if he did anything to her, and this gets him angry as he pushes the chair next to the door away. When she's alone, Ruby sees the tennis ball in her pocket and starts wondering how it got there. Shortly after, Thomas returns to the room to massage her legs to help the healing process. While he does this, he tells her that she needs to avoid moving around until her legs completely heals. He also helps her clean up, after which he leaves again. Suddenly, Ruby notices an injury on her head and decides to check her bag for a mirror. After she picks up the mirror, she realizes that it can't help her see the back of her head, so she breaks it. However, she's unaware that Thomas is peeping through a hole and looking at everything she's doing. As she struggles to see the injury again, she suddenly hears him blowing his nose next to the door, and she quickly hides one of the glass pieces under her bandage. Before she can move back to her spot, he enters the room and brings out the pills from his pocket. After giving them to her again, she falls asleep, and he takes this opportunity to clean the room, after which he also sleeps on a chair inside the room. In the morning, his alarm wakes him up, and he also goes to get her to sit up. He then starts repeating all the things she needs to know, including his warnings for her. As the days pass, he continues to help her, and this time around, Ruby also starts getting used to her cell. However, after a few days, she bursts the pipe connected to the sink just to get his attention. When he comes into the room, he sees water leaking and goes to check the sink. As he's checking it, she asks him what would happen to her if she doesn't fall in love with him. She notices how his mood changes, and so that he doesn't get angry or do anything to hurt her, she makes a joke about how he's trying to get her to fall in love with him by kidnapping her. Thomas doesn't respond to this, but while cleaning the water, he asks if there's anything she wants him to get for her, since she's obviously feeling much better. Ruby says she wouldn't mind having a pillow and blanket, as well as a book. He says he'll get them for her, and after a while, he gets her a bed, a pillow, and a blanket. He also gives her a book, and as she looks at it, it triggers a memory where she sees herself reading the same book in a garden. Ruby tells him she has a feeling that she has read the book before, and he says it's actually her favorite book. As she looks worried, he asks if there's anything wrong, and she says she's only surprised because it's the first time she has remembered anything from her past. Thomas tells her that it's because the book is a trigger, and whenever she comes in contact with anything attached to a strong emotion from her past, it will trigger a memory. He adds that it can be anything, including food or sound. Ruby then asks if she can get her memory back, and he says it's possible as long as she's patient. Thomas also says he can help her if she's ready, and she thanks him. Just then, his alarm beeps and he has to leave to get her meal. When he returns, he asks if she would like any specific beverage to come with her meal, and she says she'd love to have some tea. As Thomas brings it for her, Ruby smells it, and it triggers another memory. She's happy about this, and he says it's also her best tea. She's surprised that he knows so much about her, and when she asks about it, he says he did his research well and knows almost everything about her. Later that day, while she's reading the book he gave her, she sees some strange notes on an empty page. She instantly thinks it might have a hidden meaning, and as she takes out the piece of glass with her, she places it next to the page. With this, Ruby realizes that there's a message on the page that reads, "Don't trust him." Ruby is shocked to see this, and just as she hears Thomas coming in, she hides the glass. He then brings a table into the room so that they can start eating together. While at the table for dinner, he realizes that something is wrong with her, but she says she has just been thinking about the book he gave her and how it ends. Thomas looks happy to hear that she's through with the book, but he soon realizes that there's something else bothering her. He tells her to say whatever is wrong with her, and she then asks if there were others before her. Thomas is shocked by this question, but she repeats it, asking how many other girls he has kidnapped in the past. As Ruby continues to talk about what he must have done to the other girls who didn't fall in love with him, he bangs his hand on the table angrily. He then says sorry while adding that he doesn't know where he got the idea from. Ruby immediately changes her tone and tells him she only wants to be sure that she's the only one he has ever kidnapped, because it makes her feel special that way. He then tells her there's no other lady, and it has only just been her. This helps Ruby realize that the notes on the book were written by her at some point while being held hostage. Days later, Ruby sees that her legs have healed, and she then starts practicing how to walk again. Gradually, she's able to walk up to the door, but as she tries to open it, she realizes that it's locked. However, this triggers a memory where she sees Thomas stab her with a syringe while trying to escape. Seeing as there's no way out, Ruby returns to her bed and picks up her book again. As she looks at the notes on the empty page, she cleans up a part of it and smells it. With this, she triggers a memory of herself hiding something behind a broken tile on the wall. She immediately moves her bed to check the same spot, and as she opens it, she's shocked to see that it's a stash of matchsticks. Ruby also figures that it's what she must have used to write down the notes in the book. That night, while having dinner with Thomas, Ruby asks him to get a candle to change the mood and make things romantic. Even though he hesitates for a while, he eventually brings the candle and lights it right in front of her. After he drops the matchstick on the table, Ruby starts moving her hand sneakily to pick it up, while distracting him with a conversation about a dream she had. She finally gets the matchstick, and later that night when he brings her new books, she starts writing on one of the books. Days later, Ruby also continues to get better at walking on her own. However, when Thomas tries to help her, she pretends like she still can't walk well. She also continues to convince him to bring candles to dinner, and after a few days, she's able to write the words, "Play along," on the book. The next day, after Thomas helps Ruby try to walk well, he says she's making a lot of progress, and if she continues like that, he might take her upstairs to start living with him. In the night, Thomas brings her dinner, and just as Ruby tastes the food, it triggers a moment in the past where she's at a restaurant on a date with him. She seems to be enjoying herself there, and he also tells jokes that make her laugh. When Ruby returns to reality, she tells him about what she saw. As she looks really confused, Thomas tells her it was a flashback moment. When she also mentions that she was with him at the restaurant, he says it was their anniversary date. This makes her realize that she had actually been in a relationship with him, and as she also stares at him, he sheds a tear. The next day, Ruby finds a small hole inside her cell, and when she looks outside, she sees Thomas paddling a boat as he heads toward the house. When he enters the room, she tells him about her favorite chapter in the book he gave her. Thomas tells her he knows all about it, and in the past he was even jealous of the book because of how much she liked it. Later that day, he gets her some drawing pens and paper, which she uses to start drawing while he sleeps on her bed. After a while, she thinks about escaping since he's still sleeping. Ruby silently heads for the door, but before she can reach it, she hears his voice saying it's cold outside and she'll need a coat. Because of this, she pretends like she only wanted to take her tennis ball next to the door. The next day, Thomas comes into her room and asks her to dance with him after playing a song through a speaker. While they're dancing, she remembers another moment in the past where both of them were dancing at a restaurant. There, Thomas confesses his love to Ruby and tells her that even though they're going to different universities, he will always love and think about her. Ruby responds by telling him she also loves him. When she returns to the room, she tells Thomas what she saw, while also saying everything felt real. Later that night, while she's dancing with him, she suddenly breaks down in tears, and when Thomas asks what's wrong, she says she wants to know how things got so bad that he had to kidnap her. Thomas then starts to narrate how everything happened. He starts at the point where he was supposed to meet up with her at a restaurant close to her apartment. He eventually misses his train and starts thinking of alternatives. Meanwhile, after waiting for him for a long time at the restaurant with her friend Nick, who gets drunk, Ruby gets tired of waiting and heads home. Thomas tries to reach her phone, but it doesn't go through, so he sends a voicemail saying his friend Rob is already driving him to her place. However, Nick is really drunk, and when he returns home with Ruby, he gets violent and tries to take advantage of her. After a while, Thomas arrives to see this and angrily beats Nick up until he dies. Despite being scared of what Thomas did, Rob helps his friend take Ruby to his house. However, when she wakes up, she doesn't remember who he is. Rob tries to get help, but Thomas makes sure he doesn't call anyone, saying he knows how he'll handle it. Thomas then begs his friend to drive him and Ruby far away. Rob does this, and when he drops them off, Thomas tells him to forget everything that happened and also not look for them. After he leaves, Thomas steals a rowing boat and takes Ruby with him to a tiny island where he breaks into an abandoned building. As he looks around, he finds an underground room and hides Ruby inside while she's still sleeping. When she wakes up, she still doesn't recognize him, and he also has to lock the door to stop her from running away until he can make her remember him. Despite rejecting him several times, Thomas tries his best to make her remember him and the past they had together, but it doesn't work. He then goes even further by studying about her condition. During his research, he found out about triggers and discovered the different ways to cause triggers that would help her remember her past. He also plays out different scenarios to help her, but when none of them work, he decides to start all over by gradually trying to win her trust. As they hug each other, he says he's happy to have finally fixed her because she now loves him like before. Ruby says she truly loves him, but later that night, while he's sleeping, she finally uses the piece of glass with her to stab him several times. As she escapes, he tries to stop her, but he has lost a lot of blood, so he passes out. Meanwhile, she heads out with bloodstains all over her body and keeps walking away from the building as she looks relieved to finally be out. After looking around for a while, she pushes Thomas's rowing boat into the water so she can leave, but she passes out. When she wakes up, she sees herself in a room where a doctor tells her the surgery he performed on her was successful and she's now in full recovery. But it turns out she's back in the underground room again, and the doctor is Thomas, who is playing out a new scenario